Okay, once again, good morning, everyone. I welcome you to this class on the topic of disaster risk management. I am Muhammad and working as an independent consultant. My qualification is MCom, Master of Commerce, and MA Political Science. From 1964 2008, I worked with USAID, United States International Development, UN, United Nations World Food Program, Catholic Relief Services, Nations Development Program.
Professor Muhammad, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it looks like you are cutting from time to time and the audio is not coming out properly. If you would take some time, please, to find out what's going on your end, but you are cutting significantly. If you would double check the setting, please, or eventually change microphone on your system. We can see your presentation, we can see your face, but the audio is not coming out right. Just give it a try again, please.
Okay, Is it okay now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now correctly.
Yeah. From 1984 to 2008, I worked with the United States Agency for International Development, UN Nations World Food Program, UNDP.
Yeah, the problem is coming back, Professor. I don't know exactly how we could help.
Let me double check.
Okay, now there is something that you just said that is that came out perfectly. Keep trying. Or maybe if you cut the video feed off, maybe this might solve the problem. So what would be left in terms of bandwidth for the audio would be okay. So try to do that, please.
Okay.
If you are speaking now, no, we don't get the sound, unfortunately. As I said again, my suggestion is to shut down the video feed from your system and let the audio come out alone. This might help, because if there is an issue of bandwidth on your system, that system might not be able to broadcast both the video and the audio simultaneously. And whenever this happens, from my experience, if you cut one of the two, mainly the video that needs a larger bandwidth, this will help significantly to let the audio come out perfectly. I remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that this is Atlantic International University in the new session, the new live class event to afford you another opportunity to add to your learning experiences at AIU. Today we have Professor Muhammad Saghir, who has extensive experience in the field of project management. And today, among the topics that he is fully knowledgeable about, he is talking to us about disaster risk management. Yes, Professor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilson. I hope now you can.
The first few words came out well, but then the problem recurred. As I said, my best suggestion, pretty much like you're doing it right now, let the face and the name show, and just use your audio to convey the message that you want to share with us about the topic of disaster risk management. We sincerely apologize, ladies and gentlemen, about the issue we are trying to resolve at this time. The problem, as you certainly are aware, is that technology, no matter where we are, has never been that stable. In spite of the humongous amount of progress that we have had in technology, it has never been that stable, never with that level of stability that we need to do what we are doing at this time. Atlantic International University is among the pioneers of distance education all over the world, and we consider ourselves somewhat blessed for having done it magnificently well up to this point. So although we sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, apologize for what's going on right now, we consider that we are doing a fairly acceptable job of providing instruction, providing education in this format, the distance learning format, and with video, audio, and other medias. We've been doing acceptably well, and we thank God for that blessing. And we thank God also for having you, ladies and gentlemen, the students or member of our alumni. And this is why we can daily, twice a day, as a matter of fact, meet for this type of session.
Hello, Dr. Wilson. Now, can you hear me, please?
Oh, man, that is good. That is super.
Okay, that's great. Let me start again.
Okay, that's good.
I am working as a consultant since 2008, and I have so far rendered services related to like online classes with AI, and my services related to monitoring and evaluation, research, survey, and writing reports, gender equity, disaster risk management, standard operating procedures management. I have rendered my services to different international organizations, including United Nations and other international organizations. And the topic is disaster risk management. Since it is a lengthy topic, we have divided this topic in two classes. The objective of today's class is, I hope we would be able to gain knowledge on disaster management terms and concepts today. And we will develop understanding about types and learn the phase disaster management, how to manage disasters in terms of preparedness, response, recovery. and we will also learn how to manage disasters. To disaster. What is disaster? Disasters are serious disruption to the functioning of community, exceed its capacity to cope using its own resources. Disaster is an incident that harms humans' life and activities. As far as the types of disasters, there are two types of disaster. One is natural disaster and is human disasters. Human disasters are those disasters when people do something on purpose cause other, or it can be an accident when something happens by mistake. The examples related to human are related to war, social unrest, civil disorder, conflicts, terrorist attacks, and nuclear explosions. These are the types of human disasters. And now talking about natural disasters. Natural disasters are predominantly associated with natural process and phenomena. It is caused by Earth's natural process that leads to significant environmental degradation and loss of life. We are going to discuss different type of uh, natural disasters like earthquake, tsunami, flood, drought, volcanoes, wildfire, glacier, hurricane, typhoon, cyclone, and thunderstorms. As in the beginning, I mentioned that since this is a vast topic and we are dividing this topic in two classes, and our major focus would be on natural disasters in today's class. I hope everybody can hear me so far, sound and clear.
Yes, we can hear. The sound is not at the optimal level, but we can manage to hear you well. As a matter of fact, we're trying to synchronize our listening of whatever you are producing on your end and the viewing of your presentation on the screen. Go ahead, sir, please.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to discuss different types of disasters. As far as earthquake is concerned, an earthquake is shaking of Earth's surface. The shaking is caused by outermost layer. The surface where there is called the fault or fault plane. It is a sequence of smaller earthquakes that follow larger magnitude earthquakes. Aftershocks may be felt for many days after an earthquake and can worsen damage also ground failure. It occurs earthquakes. tsunami. Have heard already this term tsunami. Tsunami are the giant caused by earthquakes or volcanic under the sea. Drought. In many parts of the world, this disaster happens and a long-lasting period of low precipitation, rainfall, snowfall, or snow, resulting in shortage of water when communities do not have enough water for drinking and agriculture, livestock. It can lead to food insecurity. These are the consequences of drought, like food insecurity, the spread of diseases, nutrition, starvation, migration, and economy. Now, I have a question for you. Where do droughts occur? The options are in any climate, in cold climates, in dry and arid climates. You can write down your answer in chat and we will see what is the right answer to this. Where do droughts occur? Option 1, in any climate. Option B, in dry and arid climates. I would like to add one thing, like we will have question answer sessions. If you have any questions, we'll have at the end the question answer session so that we can continue with the presentation and manage the time. And I'll reply your questions at the end. I hope by now you have written your answers in chat. Now I will come up with option. It is option A, occur in any climate on Earth. Now we will discuss what is thunderstorm and lightning. Thunderstorm period, storm of lightning and thunder, usually with gusty winds, sometimes with hail or snow, produced by thunder clouds. Thunderstorms occur when moist air near the ground becomes heated, especially in the summer, and rises in thunder clouds that produce precipitation. Whereas lightning is a giant spark of electricity in the atmosphere between the air or the ground. Lightning occurs during a storm caused by discharge of atmospheric electricity cloud to another between a cloud and the earth. Hurricane, typhoon, and cyclone. I hope everybody has listened about these terms: hurricane, typhoon, cyclone. In fact, all large tropical storm systems that revolve around an area of low pressure and produce heavy rain and wind speed exceeding 74 mile per hour or 119 kilometers per hour. In fact, hurricane, cyclones are basically the same. They are weather phenomena, but they are given different name on where they geographically appear. In fact, they are the same, but it depends where they geographically. So step by step, I'll discuss hurricane, typhoon, and cyclone geographically. So you difference between them. It is only geography, not in other words. Hurricane is the tropical storm that is formed over the North Atlantic Ocean. So now you have the idea about the geographic location. It is North Atlantic Ocean and Northeast Pacific. Whereas typhoon is the tropical storm that is formed Northwest Pacific Ocean. And cyclone is the tropical storm that is formed over the Pacific and Indian Ocean. Now we will discuss about tornado. It is a violently rotating column of air touching. Tornadoes are nature's most storms generated from powerful thunderstorm. Tornadoes can cause loss of life and destroy a neighborhood in seconds. Of a tornado may reach 300 miles per hour. Now, question over here for you. Which natural disaster can the fastest wind on Earth? Is it cyclone, hurricane, or tornado? There are three options, B and C. The question is, which natural disaster the fastest winds on Earth? Please write down your answers in chat.
If you don't mind, Professor Muhammad, there is one request that I just spotted on the chat line about the possibility for you of sharing PowerPoint with the participant. If there is a link that you could eventually place on the chat line, every attendee will see the link and click on it to then download the document on their systems. If that is possible for you, either now or at the end, we would very highly appreciate that. Thank you very much. Sorry for the
Okay.
interruption.
No problem. I will share at the end the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, I hope written down the options. E. Tornadoes than hurricane, but they do produce faster winds. Floods. As you have already heard this term already, flooding is an overflowing of onto land that is normally dry. Floods are often caused by heavy rainfall, rapid snow melt, or a storm surge, tropical cyclone, or tsunami in coastal areas. Again, this is very common natural disaster, flooding. And there is a question, which natural factors may lead options A, B, C, rain duration, rain intensity, or both? Which natural disasters may lead flooding? Which natural factors, sorry, which natural lead to flooding? Now the right option is, your right answer C, both. Now we will discuss about heat wave. A heat wave is a period of abnormally hot weather lasting more than 2 days. Now, volcano is an opening in the Earth's surface. Magma, it is hot liquid and semi-liquid volcanic ash and steam to escape. It causes an eruption on Earth's surface. An eruption can be explosive, sending material high into the sky. Volcanic eruptions can last for days, months, or even years. In fact, sharing of these type of natural disasters will give you an idea that there are natural disasters. So you know and have some idea type of natural disasters are they. And in continuation of that, you will see wildfire. Again, it's a very common natural disaster. In fact, wildfires are large, uncontrolled, and destructive fires that can affect both natural and urban areas. They are caused by a range of natural causes such as lightning or by human carelessness. You can say that it is a natural disaster and human disaster because um, it can also happen due to human carelessness. They can start in just seconds and turn into firestorm in matter of minutes. So now related to this, there is another question for you, and it is mostly wildfire is started by. Options are people, lightning, the sun. Which one is the correct option? The question is mostly wildfire is started by A, people, B, lightning, the sun. Please write down your answers in chat. Now you will see the right option. It is A, people. Cold waves. It is a cold snap or deep freeze. It is a weather event involving a cooling of air or the invasion of very cold air over a large area. It is marked by drop of average temperature well below the average of a region. Now coming to glaciers. Glacier is a mass of ice and snow. It moves slowly outwards from the center of accumulation or down a mountain until it melts or breaks away. Avalanche. It is sudden slide of a huge mass of snow and ice, usually carrying with it earth, rocks, trees, and other debris. You have also heard about landslides. In fact, landslide is defined as movement of a mass of rock, debris, or earth down a slope. Now, I have a question for you. Landslides are often associated with, the options are periods of heavy rainfall or rapid snowmelt, areas covered by forests and thick vegetation. The option is both. As usual, please write your answers in chat. Now I'll share the right option with you. You are right. The correct answer is A. Periods of heavy rainfall or rapid snow melt. You have heard these terms: epidemic, pandemic, and endemic. What is the difference in epidemic, pandemic, and epidemic? If we talk about epidemics, an epidemic is a disease that quickly spreads and affects many people within a community, population, and a region. Pandemic. A pandemic is like an epidemic, but even more widespread over several countries or continents. When the epidemic spreads over several countries or regions, then it is called pandemic. And COVID-19 is one of the examples to that. When it started to one or two countries, it was called an epidemic. But when it spread over several countries, then it was called pandemic. And now, what is endemic? A disease outbreak is an endemic when it is consistently present but limited to a particular region. For example, malaria. Now I'll share and we will discuss some of the commonly used disaster risk management terms. Normally, when you talk about disaster risk management, there is a term that is called emergency. We will discuss in detail. First, I'll show what are these: emergency, rapid need assessment, resilience, contingency plan, recovery, vulnerability, and hazard. These are most commonly used terms. Rapid need assessment. In disaster risk management, rapid need assessment is the process for determining the nature and extent of the loss, suffering, a collection of techniques, that is epidemiological statistics, anthropological, designed to provide information about the affected communities' needs following a disaster. That identify needs of the area of the community after the disaster. Risk, again, is another term. Risk is the possibility that something bad or unpleasant, such as injury or a loss, will happen. That could be poor design and construction of building, inadequate protection of assets, lack of public information and awareness. And hazard is a potential source of harm or danger. The examples are, some of the examples are chemical hazards. Chemical hazards are hazards, substance that can cause harm. Work hazard, when the working environment can cause injury, illness, or death. Extreme temperatures and weather events, volcanic eruptions. Danger. Danger is something that may cause injury or harm. It could be because of poor design and construction of buildings, inadequate protection and preparedness. In a disaster, there is a danger of death or physical injury. Disaster resilience. This is a very commonly used term while we talk about disaster risk management. Disaster resilience is the ability of individuals, communities, organizations, and states to adapt to and recover from hazards, shocks, or stress without compromising long-term prospects for development. Mitigation. Measures taken to reduce the harmful effect of a disaster by attempting to limit the disaster's impact on human health and economic infrastructure. Vulnerability. Vulnerability is the inability to resist a hazard or to respond when a disaster has occurred. For instance, people who live on plain areas are more vulnerable to floods than people who live higher up. Another term is vulnerability assessment that refers to the estimation of scale and severity of these hazards may have on the people, livestock, environment, property, and economy of community. Evacuation, an organized removal of civilian from a dangerous or potentially dangerous area to safe area. Planning, to work cooperatively with others in advance of disaster, to initiate prevention and preparedness activities. Contingency plan, it is an emergency plan developed in expectation of a disaster, often based on risk assessments, the availability of human and material resources, community preparedness, and local and international response capabilities. Rehabilitation. Rehabilitation or reconstruction is a long-term developmental phase that follows a disaster or emergency that reconstructs a community's infrastructure to pre-existing levels is often associated with an opportunity to improve a community rather than to simplify reconstruct a pre-existing system. Now we come to disaster management. What is disaster management? Disaster management is about organizing, directing resources to cope with both natural, human-made disasters by dealing with all four phases of disasters. In fact, when we talk about disaster management, and we have discussed that there are two types of disasters, natural disasters and human disasters. But as far as their management is concerned, that is deal with all four phases. May it be man-made disaster, may it be natural disasters. The phases include response, recovery, prevention, and preparedness. We will discuss step by step all these four phases. When disaster occurs, there is a response in terms of search and rescue, emergency relief. And then second phase is related to recovery, that is reconstruction and rehabilitation. Mitigation, it is related to prevention, early warning, and also includes preparedness. So this is a cycle related to disaster risk management. And now we will talk what is response, recovery, prevention, and preparedness. As you have seen these four phases, these phases in detail we will discuss in our next class on August 11th. And that will include a review of part 1, human disasters type and how to manage disasters, detail of disaster management phases, and humanitarian principles. And now this is the source for preparing this presentation. I request for questions if you have questions, so that I can reply these questions if you have related to today's class.
Thank you very, very much, Professor Muhammad Saghir. You have been really outstanding as most of our presenters. We're talking about a very huge topic, disaster risk management. You have presented a very, very long list of those types of disasters, whether man-made or natural. And you have begun to look into the things that can be done to get people ready, prepared to face the overwhelming effects of disasters. And we thank you very much. As a matter of fact, so far we have a date with you for August the 11th for the second part of this very large topic. So, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have too much time, but we are all thankful to Professor Muhammad Saghir, and the few minutes that we have left, let's dedicate them to questions, the first of which is coming from Damsile Mabuza. Go ahead, Damsile. You may remove the presentation, Professor Muhammad, so that we can see every face. Thank you very much. We can now see every face on our screen in a mosaic format. There we go. Dumsile, your question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vincent, and thank you so much for the presentation. Although we had teething IT problems in the beginning, but it was very enlightening. I have two questions. One is, could COVID be classified as a pandemic that is human-made, or is it natural? And if we choose either, why are we choosing that? And the second one is just something that I am thinking about. Why are tornadoes always called by female names? Like, why are they called by female names? Is there a logic to that? Thank you.
You're very welcome, Damsile. Your response, Professor Muhammad. Remember to remove the presentation, the document, your PowerPoint, so that we can better see all the faces, all the participants. Just close end on your, click on end of the slideshow. So we will resume viewing the faces in a mosaic format. But go ahead, please, Professor Muhammad, respond to the questions from Damsile. The first one about whether or why we would call the pandemic a man-made or a natural disaster. That's a big question, Damsile. But let's wait for Professor Muhammad Saghir for his response.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. As far as the diseases are concerned, all the diseases and related to its severity, these are natural disasters. But when it comes to prevention, of course, this is related to all of us, that we have to take many measures related to prevention. Talking about COVID, you have seen that COVID came as a natural disaster, but when the prevention steps were not taken, then it increased the spread of COVID, and that added to the disaster. But basically, it is natural disaster. And as far as your second question regarding the name is concerned, I think I have to refer back it, and I will come up with the answers. Or if during or other participants have an answer to that, they are welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor. We have several hands up. We're gonna try to accommodate them all. The next one, Sylvia Gian Kumalo. That is your turn, Sylvia.
Thank you very much. My network is not also very okay. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say thank you very much for the presentation. It's a presentation that is right next to what I do. I am a resilience expert where I work, and I am actually doing a research on that. Mine is not a question as such, but maybe to add on or maybe to suggest that normally disasters are by declaration. It's the governments that have the power and authority to declare a disaster. So as development practitioners, we normally work with the term hazard or risks and shocks depending on the severity. But in terms of declaration, when a government has declared, we can officially call something a disaster. I mean, just in case anybody meets some of these terms in their work and maybe use them wrongly or differently, I thought maybe I could also bring in that dimension to say that much as today's presentation was looking at the disasters, the types of disasters and all, we also need to appreciate the fact that all disasters are by declaration. We don't declare disasters as development practitioners. I thank you and over.
Thank you very much for your comments. In fact, during the presentation, we discussed a term rapid need assessment or rapid assessment. This is an exercise that leads all the practitioners and the governments to determine whether it is a severe disaster or it is a disaster or not. You're right. Only organizations or the societies, they do not declare, but it is a joint effort in order to identify whether it is a disaster and or not. But ultimately, it is the government who declares it a disaster. You're right. Thank you very much.
All right. Now the turn of Dr. Jane Toshuku. Before we go to Ramon, first, Dr. Jane Toshuku.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good morning for me. Good night for some.
Good morning.
Afternoon from Nigeria. Quite a good presentation. It happens that in my workplace in Nigeria, this disaster management is what we are on right now, but it's mainly on electoral hazard. Well, you made mention of earthquake, hurricane, which is not visible in Africa. So the ones we have in Africa mostly is this: road hazard, water hazard, fire, and electoral hazard, which is the place I work. Now, when we come to road hazard, we can have oil spillage, which affect our farming, fishery, building, even the ships in the sea. Then air disaster, we talk of the topography and how you manage the aircraft and whatever that comes in and goes out. In this scenario, where I'm working, we are working on electoral hazard, which we normally use security. They are number one for electoral hazard. And when it comes to that, you made mention of the donor support you work with. You said United Nations Food Agency, which you know it comes with water and food in terms of the spillage and whatever. Then the Catholic Relief, UNDP, which in a place I work, they are the donor, basket donor for electoral process. Now, when we talk of electoral hazard in my place of work, we call on this donor, which is IDEA. And where I attended the conference 211 in respect to electoral hazard, it was IFES that came as donor support. So in this respect, you have all these donor supports. So how can you be of help so that we can have a wider donor support in respect to electoral hazard and general hazard in Africa, specifically Nigeria?
All right.
Thank you.
Professor Muhammad.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jain, for your active participation in the class and coming to the comments and some of your questions. Yes, you are right. There are different donors dealing with disaster. And the point is that when we discuss in the next class regarding phases of disaster, and specifically when we will be talking about man-made disasters.
All right, so the date is for August 11 for the specific answers to the questions you have brought up, Dr. Jain. Now going to 2 more questions as we have already run out of time. We're gonna go now to Rahman, and the last question will be coming from Abdul Rahman Kamara. First, Rahman Delegan. Rahman.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, Prof. Yeah, they have seen significant increases.
We are losing you, Rahman.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, try again, please.
Okay.
So they have lost money in that.
No, unfortunately, the network is failing on your end, Rahman. We are sorry about that. Let's go to Abdul Rahman Kamara. That's going to be the last question, ladies and gentlemen. The voice of Abdul Rahman.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I want to say thanks to the presenter and, of course, to AIU for this wonderful opportunity. And when he was presenting, he was talking about disaster in terms of natural disasters and human or man-made. And under the natural disaster, we have floods. But I also want to say that, like where I live in Freetown, Sierra Leone, our streets are normally flooded in the rainy season. This is due to unwise disposal of garbage from homes, which clog the drainage system and have our streets flooded, and people find it very difficult to go through. So I don't know whether we can also have flooding under the natural, under the human-made, man-made or human, apart from natural resources. Natural disaster. I don't know what you can say to that. If it can either be both or it's just natural.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rahman. As far as flooding related question, whether it is natural disaster or man-made disaster, basically it is a natural disasters, but it multiplies, its effects multiply when the community or the people over there, they do not respect the building designs, or they don't have preparation for that, and it multiplies in that case. Otherwise, basically, it is natural disaster.
Thank you, Prof. Although I did announce the last question from Abdul, let's allow Duco Martin Simon, who has hand up to ask the question or make a quick comment at this time before we wrap up this class at Argentine International University. We are with you right now, Duco Martin.
We are put together for business.
Duku, you've got to turn your microphone on. There we go. Go ahead, please. We are losing Duku. Your microphone is on our end, brother. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot have that last participant to ask a question or make a comment. And with this, we are putting an end to today's class with Professor Muhammad Saghir on the topic of disaster risk management. Like he said, the topic is so humongous, so big, that he had to divide it into two classes. The first one, which you have just attended, and the second one scheduled for August the 11th. So it's a date, and we do hope you all will be there, as we are now offering Professor Muhammad Saghir last opportunity for his conclusion, please. Professor Muhammad.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilson. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your active participation in this class. I would also like to thank Dr. Wilson again for his guidance and support during the class. I very much appreciate that. It was a nice meeting you all. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
It was a real pleasure and a blessing. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
For the
Bye-bye.
presentation, please.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Maxi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dr.
Don't mention.
Bye.